if you're an indigenous person who's LGBTIQ+, you're a minority within a minority. But if you add another intersection onto that of being a person with disability, Indigenous, and LGBTIQ+ or many spirits, you're actually a minority within a minority within a minority. And that plays a huge part on our culture and how we, as people with disabilities, get to interact and be accepted and play our part in community.
I think also we need to really decolonize our idea of disability. And this, of course, comes from the incredible privilege I've had to work around how in the Pacific, LGBTIQA+ liberation is commingled with decolonization. A lot, in part, it's because a lot of the bills that continue to criminalize same-gender attraction and acts are leftovers from British or other European rule, and were not part of their culture, were introduced. And I think our ideas of disability have been introduced, and the colonizing structure is what continues to create this need to label and to rank the human experience and the value of people based on our closeness to what is seen as the colonial ideal. And I think I've also had to recognize that often being diverse in sexual orientation has been treated like a disability, and the overlap there has been pretty insidious. But I think there's, for example, ABA therapy or applied behavioral analysis therapies, which is something that a lot of autistic advocates feel very strongly is quite a cruel and degrading and inhumane treatment, was the same person who invented conversion practices in the medical sphere for homosexual people. The fact that people with disabilities have sex and have sexuality, and that people find it difficult to imagine us having sex in a straight way, let alone a gay way. So to kind of really reconcile with seeing us as full people.
In a lot of ways, my experiences are best described as trying to balance two identities while developing both. In that sense, a lot of growing as a trans person has been discovering my identity beyond purely the medicalization of disability, and instead viewing my experiences as more of a fusion of disability culture and queer experience, and rebuilding the idea of privacy in the private sphere, which is often stolen from disabled people by virtue of the care we require or need. If a person in, let's say, residential care or supported independent living, as it's called under the NDIS in Australia, if someone in that position identified as female, they would need the support of their support workers in order to present as female. Presenting as female gives two things. It gives safety, and it gives a much easier path when going through the medicalized transition process. If a person with a disability can't do those two things because of restrictions placed on them by care, then you have someone who's not only isolated from their disability support, but potentially from our notions of LGBT support as well. And this creates this unseen third community that is otherwise underutilized. And as a result, there's no funding or research or protections put in place because there aren't visible queer, trans, or diverse disabled people because those bodies aren't able to present in ways that our culture understands.